Yeah, yeah. I see it. Mate, this is a sick setup. I've got. If I could get this with some powered tech, how much does your laptop cost? How much would I need to be able to run the same shit? Yeah, no, that's fine. I don't care about that. I have to ask, just because of keeping things up with the project, did you look at Jan USR software and all of that? I saw the portal, that was very good. Yeah, I know that you're sat there in your game development working out what you think you need to do next. I mean, at some point, I'm not doing any taking over, but if we can get this core manuscript about the company correct, a lot of the language and the UI and the handles and the way we do the software will become quite apparent. I know this is a fact, like this is academically researched. If we develop our culture, we'll come up with key terms and our own language. You see what I'm saying? And I mean, not so much the programming side, but how to do it. Like, I like the hand in the center. Yeah. Yeah, it's just the idea of keeping it personal, that you can interact. Yeah, I do like the portal. The portal bit's savage. Yeah, well, the bit that's go on. That's for you've got some sort of pack loaded for a mobile phone touchscreen. I guess most of these objects are taken in from asset packs. I mean, how is it to build? Yeah, if you could find a way that you could dynamically load content into placeholders, so you didn't have to edit the game each time, that'd be savage. Like an iframe on HTML. I mean, that's quite key. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, what I'm looking for, like I said, in stage one, I really want to. Well, this is the next part about what I've referenced several times about the story. We need to have a sort of a, maybe next time you're on a chilled session and you want to talk about philosophy again, we need to come into going back to that scene in the Matrix where you just two guys load into a white space, and the first couple of things of the natural conversation, what comes about and how could we represent that? Well, CMDB, this is seriously why we need to have this conversation, this open-ended visual conversation, because we can start bringing in, once we're in a memory palace type low key visual mindset, we can really start employing any mechanism from anywhere in life. We can take its conceptual meaning and we can employ it. So the one that I've got here is called CMDB. And like I said, it's abstract thinking for the time being, but it helps conceptualize or analogize. Are we record? Fantastic. Okay, so yeah. So CMDB, backstory, I've said it, I referenced it several times because it's from my life experience, but there will be many others that structure the same. All it is a framework that IT companies employ. It's the standard model of having anyone who's running a help desk, first line, second line, third line, you know, which jobs go first, when do they go second, how long do they stay around in a queue? That's the jobs you're applying for. In the back end of that system, it talks about a knowledge base. That's where it came from. Everyone now nicks knowledge base, but it came from ITIL, or Information Infrastructure Library. And inside that knowledge base, it defines something called a CMDB, which you can see here. There's no one particularly great. I was looking for one model that does a fantastic job of explaining it. It does, after the invention of relational databases, which you know of, no, come on. No, that's absolutely fine. No, you're right. So we all know how relational databases work, don't we? Relational database. Mention of that. All CMDB does is look to say, instead of having everything in this individual table, everything is one value at the very bottom, and you assign values as you go through what the assets are worth. And it's very similar now to what you know in gaming, and now what video editors know in NLE environments. Node Red, have you seen that? So this is something I want us to try and get up as quickly as possible, at the edge of my knowledge kind of thing. Can you see that image there? Node Red is an open source and basically allows you to control everything from database handlers, animation software, sequencing, automation, all sorts. You pick your front end API, it puts it in, and it gives you a visual representation that you can attach and add nodes and things to. So it's live on the fly interaction. Yeah. Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, that's exactly the same thing. Can you do me a favor? Can you screenshot that for me? Limit to my knowledge. I know everything in IT needs to know. I think the reason I'm failing, and I think the reason you're failing, is because we don't have the same application that society's looking for. The point is that is our creative process. If we get what I'm after in less than a month, we won't need to change. The fucking software will do it for us. I know that sounds a little bit harebrained at the minute, but it's going to involve some PHP, some regex, some sort of low-level machine learning algorithm that can sit there and work out faster than we can, and that will help us, come up with decision making. Yeah, honestly, I've seen someone do it. I've got the research, and now I just need us to have a go. Oh yeah, lovely. So like, and no, that folder's got 100 gig on it. So yeah, go nuts. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, fucking do what you want to it. I pay £1 a month to get it to 100 gigs. So right. So what I'm trying to do is now is see if I can do it rather quickly. I don't think I'm going to be able to hide. Damn it. Okay. Yeah, we'll worry about monetize as a separate model. Don't worry about that. Hopefully, if we can get to this video kind of idea of getting ideas across, it's kind of like in on our screens and with us as we talk. Hopefully, the money model will become obvious, self evident when you're going through it. Got sound waves, which obviously come out of your mouth, all the way up to video and motion, which obviously comes from your eyes. And in terms of I/O and the brain, left and right, it's essentially the same shit. It just goes in one side, processed, decisions made about it, and spat out the other side. And that's the bit I'm trying to get our rhetoric, our language, just to reflect, just for a little while. It's uncomfortable. It's really not what we're about. It's edging on the side of selling out, but it's not. It's being producers. It's being capitalist. It's being a useful service. Um, and once we have the cash, we can have whatever morals we want. Is my end point. What I was going to try and say is, let's hang on. Here we got here. Right. So at the moment, all I've got is SketchUp. So I have to sit there and use Dave. Anyway, the day after, I went and made this, which was just the fastest thing I could think of. Like, sofa was here, TV was there. He had a staircase like this. Yeah, bang, 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 bang. Put the walls in as if I was in your game engine. I'm pretending. All of this is pretend until we make the money, but that's what we have to do. Right. So where I'm wiggling it where each person sat. So the point is here, if I now froze this, as you very well know, I haven't got this on my note, but my note here, I can write on my note. I can draw in the extra characters, which I'm going to do later on this evening. The point of that is it helped me promote conversation. And as I was doing it, I remember that his mate walked in with a long coat. And we made a joke about him looking like Neo, and he works for IT, so it was very fitting. And then his mate had an Xbox controller, so we popped that in, and it's relevant in the story that you don't open the file and the Xbox controller's there. This is where the game element comes in, gamification. It's what me and you have to pluck. I'm telling you now, if we suss this, we'll be in Silicon Valley writing the next business process manual for all of IT. Because I'll just say it again, we need the file not to have the Xbox controller when we opened it. As you've just seen, I mean, this is nothing to you because you don't know, you weren't there. And I'm trying to create one for me and you in a minute. I've already done my room. In a minute, I'm going to ask you to let me look, like, just give me a quick sweep of your room. And I was a cat post. Anyway, when I showed my mate Sam this, and he watched it, and he hates all this crap. He's like, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. Whatever, Loz. But when I showed him this, I told you about the dog up the stairs with the pail of milk, with the clock. I'll ask you again now. Do you remember the numbers that the hands were pointing to? It's 12 and 4, but we'll get there. Right. We'll get there. Right. The thing is, no, this is amazing because we've now got this on recording. So I started this conversation at the beginning weeks ago. Do you know about Memory Palace? You said no. So this actually works in our favor. And this is what our game, this software offers. Let's just pretend for a sec that you're Sam, just so I can say it naturally, and you'll get what I'm trying to do. So I went, hey, Sam, look this, check this link out. And he goes to sam.lrio and this video plays. And he went, oh yeah. And then James came in, and then there was a Coke bottle, and then we smoked another joint, and we said about next door and the shitty roof upstairs, and his brain's just going through the signal, just like the dog exercise I said with you. If he did it in a week's time, he'd remember more, and a week after that, even more. And here's the best bit. You guys spend your leisure time after working going to play a game. So you'll even anticipate and tolerate even stuff I don't. Loading the menu, loading the map, you know, a temporary drop of connection. These files, if we can get them down to X amount of K and loaded on a website, maybe a news type of social media, what you would spend your life doing is scrolling through your feed of your own digital fucking life. Okay? And the memories are there. So look at the very end of this. This is the beautiful bit. This is where the game bit where you like would change focus somehow. You would have you seen Stanley Parable? So something along those lines. There's some sort of heuristic he talks to the audience. Yeah, and at the very end, obviously, if this could be rendered at high res, no one would know the difference between real or fake. And then we zone it to a gap, and then we ask the question. And I put this across, and all of a sudden I realised that in this 3D software, you can mind map faster than you can in mind map software because you can just connect and make shapes. Anyway, so that was it. It worked. So what I'd like us to do, I mean, not now, not live on the thing, but, because that takes too long with the software I've got. But I made a shell a second ago. I've got one that I've already done of my house, and I've picked out the key components, because if we can try and recreate some of these, there's going to be some generic shapes. Everyone's going to have a computer, an Xbox, a controller. If we can come up with a list of those, people can start using our software. There's other things as well. Little mini apps. Like if you want to try thinking about money, is breaking your software up before you get to production. So that was you've seen these before, right? A fishbone app, a fishbone diagram in business. Have you seen these? Forget these kinds of things. So it talks about moving things forwards. You have your all your different. I'm not asking you to focus on the diagram specifically. There's a whole host of them. I mean, out there for this call, there's endless amounts of business programs. And what I keep trying to say is that there is an absolute difference. Something happens in the brain when you do this. You sewed everything together. Computer cry. 2 seconds. You've seen Google Earth. We have to try and forget that these transition periods of bullshit are not happening. And they're like, from this hours recording, like 20 minutes of perfect video is being produced. That's all I have to keep telling myself. And it really is the case, Chris, because I showed you a few months ago, outside of our development and us bigging each other up, the realistic thing about the GoFundMe, the guy with the burnt house, the $1,000. I'm finding more and more examples of this. If we just had content that I could put in a suit and say, here, check my number, check my tag, check my website, email me, buy it, interact with me, and it will do something. They will fucking love it. I know, and I want you to stay in that realm. I'm only asking you. You're more than free to tell me when the cap of your interest. I'm trying to get it to the point where you don't think about trying to get another job. That's basically my goal, is to convince you. And I'm on it. I already know. It doesn't matter what conversation we have, how many nights we mess around or don't. Pipeline to me, everybody pretends to be busy. I've got a deadline, but I'm forgetting it because I'm trying to be the one who's acting different to break the mold. But you have got a deadline, and I'm already aware of it. It's 3 months in when you've got 2 bills and no income. Trust me, your whole behavior changes. You shift my mentality. Everybody does it. Anyway, here it is. So I want something to this effect. If we had a static image, we don't have to. I'm asking you to go off and stretch your brain. I'm simply saying I already have mechanisms that I think will make our life easy. But this is kind of like the demo stages. It zooms in, and once it's zoomed in, it goes into a 3D world. If you keep pressing it, right, and it's this bit here. When you see that momentary shift when you go between 2D and 3D, something in the brain goes from our days where we recorded stuff on a cave, and then we transition to that Z-axis, and everything becomes perceptual. I did it before in that video with the black and white and the twisty text. The idea is, if me and you were talking now, and we said, right, me and Chris were having a conversation, a box pops up. From that box, it just follows a logical sequence like we see on those diagrams. Then we talked about games. Then we talked about the server. Then we talked about game development. Then we talked about whatever it was. The bit that makes it unique is that you can twist it on its side and stick a date on it, stick some tags on it, and then you can send it away to like some, I don't know, like abyss, to send it to like a generic bin that just sits there forever. And that's where the CMDB comes in. Because if you tag it properly, when we next do this session and we mention the same cubes, as you've mentioned, with classes, and they carry out throughout the whole project, when you re-mention those, either through voice activation or manual input, those boxes will repopulate right in front of your eyes. So this will be the 28th century version of flicking through a book. You imagine watching all of your this is one of your videos I want you to do. Very current at the moment is to get all of your YouTube videos, string them together at 1,000% speed and play them in one clip. People are generally into that. They really do like the whole. There's a whole other part of the brain. So look, this is one of the really boring. I mean, I like you have to really pretend like you love business for this to be any way interesting. But if we could get 6 or 7 examples of this together in less than 2 weeks, so it's okay. I could really. I'm right. So yeah, I mean, take this as specifically or light as you want. I'm only referencing the idea that we take something that other people find extremely boring after what I've just been through, and the trends that I know are coming with VR, software, interaction, mixed reality, AR, and all the rest of it. And the fact that you're already halfway there with game development, I'm already demonstrating for free, poor as fuck in the middle of the day with this low end software that we can simulate, you know, some very important points that the big competition is trying to do. Like, for example, in this one particular case, yes. And then again, I know very well, which is what you're sort of more skilled at. I know that I'm just fucking around in a CAD, but you would be in the exactly. So I'm sitting there messing around in a 3D app. If I can find the perfection, the perfect source that allows us to create a conversion workflow, we're literally, in the same space a business meeting would normally get a pen and paper or a flip chart or whatever else they get. Look, they Nerve Vortex, welcome to the room. That's exactly what I'm aiming for. But the only way it's going to work, listen to me very carefully, and I'm going to have to go a little bit eccentric to make it work because I've got to lift the fucking belief, but I need to come back down the second I reach it. I don't want to be benevolent in any way, but if you look at the research, so my interest is obviously IT, and I will use that analogy for the time being. Steve Jobs, he won or beat Microsoft or contended with them in the same way polarizing politics works because they nursed and massaged the part of the brain that's more socially inept. They played more with the tune. They were more consistent. They took care of things. They were like a big warm hug. They came at a high price, but people will pay that price, and that's the thing to remember. So because we've got look at this thing, right? So you've just saw me. Let's just really pretend that this is super flash. I've got like 6 1080 SLIs in my card and it's rendering really nicely and it's got your vortex kind of theme attached to it. In that meeting, and obviously I know that you're aware of, obviously I talked to you about scale in the past. Sorry, I don't want to talk, my voice is horrible on camera, but cardboard, Google, VR, right, so you know about these. If we could somehow, so for £2.50, everyone has mobile phones. We come up with some sort of training package that we offer, whatever. We model whatever we want to model for them. I did have the idea of buildings and their fire escapes. That was one. But yes, you're right. Some sort of automated way that would take a popular business model and give it that 3D concept. And because of that whole, and as you know, it's just gone from, and this is where your brain will take over because I'm hoping that you're way more creative than me. It's just gone from a very basic diagram to the minute you go to here, because of the lines and stuff, it's like a dystopian technical city. You've got things in the. Do you see what I'm trying to say? And what I'm trying to get to, what I can't simulate, is this. And then this needs to come up on a GUI, like a little menu in the top right-hand corner. These fixed modes, which I want to call mental slices, because it's your brain doesn't remember what happened; it remembers from a perception, right? So this idea that you can just quickly zoom around to various areas of the board. You know what I'm trying to say? And it just appears, and it appears, and it appears. Um, yeah, I mean, have you seen Google Chrome experiments? Have you played around with those at all? Right, good. I mean, they've got all. They have all the physics that I want to incorporate throughout our project. I don't need to show you them now anymore, but we're getting very close. If you can get to a point, you're obviously making a game. We can demo it. We can call it a game. We can call it an app. I did have this HTML version that we could make to start selling now. Fee for the import. Yeah. But imagine it to the point of having it so that you are the business owner. So it's micro transition. So you wouldn't allow them to autonomously walk around. There'd be some sort of camera view that fixes it here, here, and here. One version. It's a cut down version that just makes them. You're going to get the wow factor the minute they're in a 3D environment, and it's going to last about 3 seconds. And in that 3 seconds, you need to get to the point, and all of the old-fashioned business. We could try and flesh out, parts. So I've now got hopefully a new screen. Right, so can you see my tablet? Oh, mate, this is crazy. We've got so many screens. We must be like raping the bandwidth. Absolutely raping it. This is fantastic, mate. This is the world I want to live in. If I could do this in virtual... Okay, so I'll just tell you now out front. The next thing I'm going to try and push for our company, I would never rest. I'm like Elon Musk. The point is, the minute we got a VR environment and we can walk around, step one. Step two, the minute we can get iframe equivalent, which means we could designate parts of the environment and we can export stuff in the fly. That's a whole set of environment. That's step two. And then once we're a PLC company and flying away with our product and we're launched, the final step is to be able to get live feed input. And I'm already imagining it's going to be through code and not through visuals of other systems. So literally, you'll come home and VR will now be what it was always supposed to be. It doesn't, right? This is right. Look, I know, right? I know, but if we don't go through it, there's two things that are going to happen. We're going to miss out on the algorithmic change of 2018. We have to have some stake because other people's ideas will drown us on search results. We will get drowned. And copyright's going to get harder to fight because the gap between when people make claims is going to get shorter. There's all sorts of stuff. So I'm hoping that this is the most strategic view that approach that I can think of. Right, in the time being, let's try and I don't know what. Well, what investors look for is that creative idea. Yeah, essentially. I mean, I'm trying to work out why other people buy into things, what it is behind it. It is definitely the story. I mean, I can draw that bit here for you now. It's definitely a part of the brain at all times. We're constantly trying to get this part brain going all the time, which is the dopa reward system. And we want to get it as many times as we can, 10 times, 1,000 times. Yeah, exactly correct. I mean, even when we're not happy, we don't even know what to do. So we do things like wank, shower, mull around, all those things because the brain's going, oh, I remember we did this last time. The areas aren't connected. Yes. So the bits we want to focus on are the prefrontal cortex. We don't think along enough in this area, and that's supposed to give us our alpha brainwaves. And now what they're looking at is all this other stuff from like Dave Asprey, etc. They believe that they can do all sorts in terms of like influence that area of the brain through magnets, lights, all sorts of like gadgets, whatever.
Whatsoever. There will be now, but
No.
yep. Shit. I thought I
Well,
tested
I'll tell you what,
before.
we
No matter. I thought
yeah, I
that
was
was
going to
going
say
to
we
happen.
can end it there for the time being.
That's a
I think,
bummer.
like I said, we can
I
work the
didn't. I didn't
objective.
say that much, but yeah, I don't know. That's some shit.
Well, we don't, this is a practice. We can dump this and do it all over again. But the next time we
Yeah.
talk, if we had something to this effect, like a central person in the center room of some sort that we call our meeting room. I don't know how you want to do it. Make it HTML if you want, and in those things, link it to a database as well. It says the things that we were talking about.
Yeah.
They're labeled and.
Well, I
and
mean,
the
what I'll
story,
probably do anyway is just edit the videos. I mean, like, cause I mean, otherwise, if we're gonna have a collective YouTube channel, no one's going to sit through an hour and a half of us talking to each other. Even people who are really into it. Like, you know, I occasionally do that for some YouTubers, but even then I have to be really, really, really interested in what they're talking about to do it. Be asked to do it. So I'll just edit things together and like just do that, I guess. And I mean, I can even like for the bits I was showing.
I mean, that we do need to get to something like that because that is where the production quality is.
Yeah. Cool. Well, so if I carry on with the Unreal Engine work, I'll have a look at starting to put together a website. We need to figure out a domain, I suppose. So
yeah, I mean that's what I said before about the names. I mean, you can see what I'm sort of drawing out. Yeah, again, another room that we would have, a landscape that we can.
So a lot of so like we're talking about like 3D landscaping, 3D architecture, 3D architects basically. So I mean, maybe if we just like back and forth. I don't think we should just decide it now, but if we back and forth for the next 2 days, decide on the domain name.
Well, give me some key words. What sort of things can you?
Well, it's like 3D space, architecture, business processes, processing,
graphics.
Dream spaces, I suppose. Lucid dreaming. Well, mind maps, mind space, mental palace, mind palace, like you're talking about. Sphere shapes. I'm just like brainstorming now.
I mean, the idea of memory palace is that you can create and go as deep as you want once you have the buildings. So if we had a memory palace for, I mean, I don't know why I do that, you know, like the stupid Indian thing. So if you could have like a level where we enter into our memory palace, you walk in, you know,
I mean, like, obviously at the minute I'm prototyping the engine and we'll produce a prototype version of it. But then I think for further iterations, you could probably make it so that it has almost like its own inbuilt level editor. That's too high end now. That's just out of the question for this first build of the kind of like brainstorm software. It's just too much. I can't build that
totally
like a
agree.
But I think what we could keep in mind for a few future iterations is to make it so that you can design your own. Well, like, you know, you're saying about having objects you can just plonk in and stuff. Have it so that actual process is quite. You can basically create your own virtual space, create your own. I mean that. If we could have like a simplified, like almost like with Minecraft, where so it's simple. It's not like I think if at this point, like especially as there's only 2 of us, if we overcomplicated the kind of idea for that, then that would be counterproductive, really. But if we could create something simple, where you can create your own, like you said, mind palace, and then you know link things up, and then also have further uses. We'll have to figure out that. Basically, that'll be a further application further down the line, I suppose, but that'd be quite cool, like a kind of just basically a virtual space that you can just easily edit and create things in and navigate, I suppose. I'm gonna have to go off soon.
Yeah, no, like literally, I'm constantly drawing as you're talking to try and match up what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go off in a bit. I'll have to get on with some stuff. It's 3 o'clock already, bloody hell, 3:10. I woke up so late today, 12.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely not a problem. Is this video going to get uploaded?
I'll edit it, but yeah, I'll just edit it so that cut down some of it, and then I will. What I'll do is I'll edit it, send you upload it unlisted at first, send you a copy across, then you can just say yeah that's good, or you know change this and that. Or so obviously I'll cut this bit out now. I'm just talking about. It's meta, innit?
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. Yeah.
But,
I love that. I learned about that the other day.
Yeah, well, it's like it'd be like breaking the 4th wall, wouldn't it, for anyone watching? Like, you know, I'm in a video where they're talking about editing a video. This video that is.
Yeah, I mean, that's it. Like an Inception. Like eventually, I want one of our things to go that we go to one of our files on lrio.uk.
What about like Incept? I don't know. Incept for a name sounds too cybersecurity, actually.
Yeah, no, you can't use it, but you can take the analogy and might apply that. But yeah, somewhere in our website that when you load up the front dashboard, You know, you've got all of the menus down the side. You click a button.
I could quite like names like Node and thing, but Node's already taken because it's a JavaScript framework, so that would just.
Well,
be
that goes back
confusing.
to the keywords again. Like, what kind of themes do you want to
I've
use?
always liked the word. Well, I always liked.
You know, the best ones for logos are always single
Indra,
words.
just purely because there's Indranet, which is this cool concept. I remember reading about
Can you
this.
spell it for me?
Indra. It might be a bit abstract though. Indra was what was it again? It was something I read about ages ago in this book by Eric Davies, who's an amazing, incredible technology writer and media writer. Indranet. It's just Indranet. Yeah, it's basically comes from Buddhist philosophy. Indra's net. It's a metaphor used to illustrate the concepts of emptiness, dependent origination and interpretation. It's pretty cool because it kind of almost. It's actually might be quite a nice name actually, because it's basically about infinite space. It's an infinite space basically. I'll send you the Wikipedia article. I can remember reading about it in this book, Technosis, which I'll get up as well. I'll share it on my screen actually. It's this book, Technosis, by, like I said, this author Eric Davies, who's amazing. He's one of my favourite books. I think you can read the thing on here actually. We can read extracts from it certainly. I mean, it's kind of like a psychedelic. Well, it's kind of countercultural, psychedelic culture, counterculture. He's like a, he's quite into Terence McKenna but then also a lot of the old. But Technosis is a book that I picked up at university, and just at the end of it, and it completely inspired me. It's just about the links between religious and spiritual impulses and technology. So, gnosis.
Good, because that's the sort of stuff I want in the software.
Yeah. It's a brilliant book. I actually I used to have I stupidly gave it away to a girl I was dating for a bit, and then never got it back. So I need to get a new copy of it. But
yeah, I've made that mistake with jewelry and everything. Yeah.
Well, it wasn't a big deal. It's just like I got through 2 books out of it anyway from her, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, it's one of my favourite books. Mate. So yeah, it's just well worth reading this. And that Indranet, I quite like that as a name, or Indra or something like that, just because it's got a nice root from like Buddhism, which is probably one of the of all the belief systems is one of the ones I kind of got more time for, I suppose. I'm not a Buddhist, but I mean I like some of the ideas.
No, I know what you say. It's better thought out, and I've got more respect for it.
Describe the interconnectedness of the universe. So it's kind of similar kind of. It's basically this idea of nodes and connecting. So it kind of like in terms of that seems quite because a lot of the software I'm building is very atomic. So I'm building these little atoms which will connect somehow and stuff. So it seems conceptually quite.
Yeah, that's exactly the same path I'm on.
Link. So yeah. So I think maybe that would be a good name for stuff, or something like there's like a variation on that, I guess. But yeah, I'm gonna scoot off now. I might start prototyping some website designs as well, and just start getting ideas together for that. I can just do that on my Nora Vortex site as for now, just to the subdirectory or something. Then I'll send some stuff over. Alright. Okay, see you in a bit.
See you in a bit, mate. Thank you very much.
See you in a bit. Bye. Bye. Okay.